Hello, my name is Ira Hyde, and I want to welcome you to NCBOLD. Today, I want to share with you about digital citizenship. Focus on the do's, not the don'ts. You can follow along with this presentation that I want to share with you by either scanning the QR code that you see on your screen, or you can go to the bit.ly that I have listed below. Just a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Ira Hyde. I am an instructional technology facilitator at Haywood County Schools. Now, if you're wondering where Haywood County is, it is on the border of Tennessee. So many times in the winter, we miss for school. We average around between 8 and 10 missed days each school year that we have to make up. Now, this year being very different as far as weather, we did not miss any snow. So we were very fortunate with that. But as you can see, I have taught upper elementary, grades 3 through 5. I was the media coordinator at the school where I taught at and began my teaching career. And in 2021, I took the position of technology facilitator. I'm the only one in my county, and I serve 15 different schools. So that keeps me on my toes, as I know you all are super busy in your roles as well. So we will go ahead and get started. That's enough about me. But since we're focusing on digital citizenship, I thought that we could start off with a little game. Now, I'm not sure if you have heard the game Never Have I Ever, but in this case, what you do is you hold up both hands, and then when I will say a statement, and if you have ever done this, you would put a finger down. So we're going to start with 8 because I have 8 statements that I'm going to say, and I want to know if you've ever done this, and we'll see what happens at the very end. So holding up 8 fingers, the first thing, never have I ever shared personal information online without considering the potential consequences. If you've done that, you need to put a finger down. I know, thinking back and from my own personal experience, I've done that, whether it be your phone number, it might even be your credit card information that you're purchasing something that you might, and then after you do that, you're like, oh, maybe I should not have put that information out there. You kind of get that funny tummy feeling. That happens. Next, never have I ever forwarded or shared a message or email without fact checking it first. Well, I think, here in just the past few years, we have seen lots of fact checking, and we've come to hear and understand fake news. So have you ever maybe forwarded something on that you didn't really check the source of it first to see if that was truly legit? Next, never have I ever posted something online that I later regretted or deleted it. And, I think that really comes to mind when we think about social media, and especially for our students, But, this is, again, we're kind of reflecting on ourselves here. Again, you can get caught up in the moment of something and you say it, and then, you kind of regret, like, oh, why did I do that? Things happen like that. Next, Never have I ever used someone else's work or ideas without giving them credit. So, I think as teachers, we can get really kind of complacent about, I'm just going to run to the copier and copy this real quick, not even thinking a breath about it. But, really, we should be um, obeying copyright law and fair use guidelines. But, sometimes we think nobody will know. I've done that, I will admit. Never have I ever downloaded or shared copyright material without permission. You know, I think back, you know, 20, 25 years ago, the whole college scene was erupting with Napster and LimeWire. And if you don't know what those is, that was a file. Those were file sharing programs where you could download music, MP3s, and we all thought, oh, this is free, this is awesome. But yet, you know, not even thinking we were taking people's work, and without giving them credit and for the credit that they were truly should have received. Next, never have I ever clicked on a link or downloaded an attachment from an unknown source. Kind of those phishing emails, that we get sometimes, or a lot of times, I should say. Those happen. And sometimes it's very hard to decipher, is this truly legit? Is it not? It's hard to say. Next, never have I ever posted photos or videos of someone without their consent. And again, I think a lot of this goes on, especially with social media. You get tagged in people's photos. Sometimes I don't want people to know what I'm doing. We're now to the part where, we see what's going on everyone's Instagram feeds. Do we really want people to know that we're sitting in a dentist chair, or someone's posting a photo of you doing something that, who cares? Nobody really wants to know, and nobody cares about that. So, I think we have to be mindful of that. And then lastly, never have I ever ignored or violated the terms and conditions of a website or service. I know I'm guilty of that. Number one, for the simple fact is, if I download an app on my phone or something like that, the first thing when you open that app is the terms and conditions, and you have to read those. And then in order to continue, you have to click accept. Now, how many of you really take the time to read every single word of that, what seems like an eternal long list of things that you can and cannot do? I sure don't. And, I think I have probably violated some terms and conditions of specific websites in thinking back. But, now as we're learning about digital citizenship, we can hopefully fix that. So, does anyone still have all their fingers up? Probably not. So, hopefully, what we'll talk about today will kind of shed some light and open your mind about understanding digital citizenship and things that we should do to, number one, protect ourselves and, be respectful to others. So today's goal is that we're going to focus on digital citizenship in a positive way. So obviously, it's kind of difficult for you to click on a Jamboard from here, but I want you to kind of reflect on what you think digital citizenship means. What does that really mean when you hear that term? What does that kind of spark in your brain, digital citizenship? I'll give you just a second to ponder that. So how many of you thought, oh, that's internet safety or ways to prevent cyberbullying, things like that? Yeah, that is definitely, um, that's something how we can relate to digital citizenship. So, according to ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education, digital citizenship goes beyond conversations about personal responsibility. It's about being active citizens who see possibilities instead of problems and opportunities instead of risks as they curate a positive and effective digital footprint. Now, to me, that doesn't sound negative at all. And that's something that I really, really like, um, because I think the more that we are positive or have a positive spin on things, the more that our students are going to understand and take, because it's hard hearing, don't do this, don't do that, stop doing this, stop doing that. That becomes so negative and monotonous. And a lot of times students will just block us out for that. So I love that, we really need to be thinking about it in a much more positive way. If you do not know or realize, you have a free ISTE account. And if you see, I have NC Ed Cloud. So if you log into your NC Ed Cloud account, then there is a link to ISTE. And so ISTE will give you lots of resources about digital citizenship, lots of other resources as well. So, and this is a free subscription that our digital teaching and learning division of DPI has made possible for us to use. So I think it's a great opportunity and full of great resources. So a lot of times when we think about digital citizenship and what we're teaching our students about digital citizenship, we really focus on social media, which absolutely, I feel the same. As a media coordinator, that was one thing that I spent a lot of time on, even with elementary students, was focusing on social media. I had a principal observe me in a fourth grade class, and he was in disbelief about the number of students who had social media accounts in that particular class that he was observing. Afterwards, he was like, "Where, how do we protect them?" And again, I think it's us just being very positive and sharing with them potential things that could happen, but being in a much more positive way as far as teaching them about being respectful, number one. But according to a Pew Research Center survey conducted in 2020, around 81% of teenagers in the United States aged 13 to 17 use social media platforms. A study by Common Sense Media in 2019 reported that 69% of American teenagers aged 13 to 17 use social media multiple times a day. So now just imagine how much those statistics have changed in the last few years since the pandemic. Do you think that they have changed drastically as far as those statistics? Why do you think that might be the case? I feel like when we went into quarantine, many of our students, the only way they had to communicate with their friends was via social media. So, of course, them being very social, that's what they wanted to do. So I'm sure that this number has drastically increased since the pandemic. So, what are some popular social media platforms that you feel like um, most of our students are using? Well, according to the Pew Research Center's survey, the most commonly used social media platforms among teenagers here in the United States were YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And again, me personally, I feel like those numbers have probably increased. But do you think that each one of these platforms do enough to protect our students? Do you think that our students, when they download these apps on their device, do you think they read those terms and agreement, or do they just click continue to access the app? Of course they click continue. That's what we would do. So, this is where it becomes, part of our job to teach them and the skills that they need to be good digital citizens. A Common Sense Media study from 2019 found that American teenagers spent an average of 7 hours and 22 minutes on screens per day, including social media use. Another study published in 2019 in JAMA Pediatrics, it indicated that more than 30% of adolescents spent more than 3 hours per day using social media. Now, JAMA is the Journal of the American Medical Association, just in case if you did not know that. So these statistics to me are staggering because, as we all know, lots of these students, these children, are not being supervised when they are on screens. And we're talking about screens that are not outside of, or that are outside of the school day. But just think about 7 hours and 22 minutes, and that does not include their homework time. So that's a lot of time where students can be influenced by other people, by negative things that could really, really hurt them. So again, it's our role as educators to, instill in them the fact of being respectful while they're online. So because they're online so much, there's some potential negative effects that can happen. Research has found many associations between social media use and other issues such as poor sleep, decreased self-esteem, cyberbullying, feelings of anxiety, and depression. So, we're seeing, especially since the pandemic, we're really seeing some of the results of students being behind screens, lack of social interactions, things like that. It's making it more difficult for just normal conversation. So, are we talking here about online safety or digital citizenship? What are we really teaching here? Online safety can be more like a list of don'ts. Do this or do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. Instead, we need to be teaching digital citizenship, which is more than a list of just directives. I feel like Kid President, that you see right there, he says it best. Treat people like they're people. That kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kind of like that golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. So digital citizenship is all about making your community better, having respectful and meaningful debates, shaping public policy in a positive way, and recognizing the validity of online sources. Is it legit or is it just fake news? So we want it to be more about a list of do's and not a list of don'ts when you're teaching about digital citizenship. So I have some links that you can pause the video and you can explore these websites and different articles about digital citizenship and our students and how we should react to these. The first article is all about some different resources and ways that you can teach digital citizenship. In the second article, it's all about what teachers want students to know about digital citizenship. How is social media influencing the way our students are acting, basically? And finally, that third article is all about ways to just really start that conversation about digital citizenship with your students. It's all about listening and talking with um, with our students about it and bringing awareness to it. So as you read those and look over those, I want you to think about maybe a couple of words or a phrase that stands out to you. And for me, it really is all about conversation. That's the number one thing, that I took from all of this is conversation, because what we feel like we believe may not be the same as the other. And that takes us all back to about having those respectful debates. How can we agree to disagree in a respectful way? But it's all about conversation. How do our students feel about certain things? How do we um, teach them to be respectful to others? How do we do that? How can we do that? And I think the bottom line is we model that behavior for them. We have to model that as adults. So I want us to watch this little video from Richard Culata, who is the CEO of ISTE, and he is talking about making digital citizenship about the do's and not the don'ts. So that's a pretty powerful video. Focus on those dudes. Here. So he talked about the 5 competencies of digital citizenship: being inclusive, informed, engaged, balanced, and being alert. Now, if you have not looked already, take a look at the North Carolina Digital Learning Standards for students and teachers. And in both of those, there is a section on digital, all about digital citizenship. And there's a common thread here that it may not necessarily come out and say these 5 words, but they are all embedded within each one of these as far as for our students and our teachers. And so another important thing is these standards come directly from ISTE. In April of this year, North Carolina, the State Board of Education, adopted the ISTE standards as our digital learning standards for students. We already had the digital learning standards for teachers adopted from ISTE. So that's exciting for us now that we have the resources from ISTE through our NC Cloud that we can use to teach digital citizenship, focusing on the do's. He used the referred to DigCit commit. If you have not ever looked at that website, that also has some great resources, which I will share the link to all those at the end. So being inclusive, digital citizens are open to hearing and respectfully recognizing multiple viewpoints, and they engage with others online with respect and empathy. And that's a biggie, teaching our kids to have empathy. A student who is inclusive might participate in a class discussion about a controversial topic and respectfully listen to the viewpoints of others, even if they disagree. And that's, I think that's hard for students because just like us, what we think is right, and that's what we want everyone else to think. But, we need to be mindful and, more importantly, respectful of others' opinions and their beliefs. So what might be some other ways students and teachers can be inclusive? Also, digital citizens are informed. They evaluate the accuracy, perspective, and validity of digital media and social posts. A student who is informed might check the sources of a news article before sharing it on social media, and they might be able to identify bias in a piece of media. And I think we've seen that, like I said earlier, in the last few years. We've really seen some bias between, especially news outlets and political platforms. And students really need to understand, and adults as well, to fact check the information that they hear and receive. So, that's a good way that we can, teach them, is to really be able to fact check. Also, he talked about being digital citizens are engaged. They use technology and digital channels for civic engagement, to solve problems, and to be a force for good in both physical and virtual communities. Being a good digital citizen does not always mean just online. It is everywhere. A student who is engaged might use technology to volunteer for a cause they care about, or they might create a digital project to raise awareness about an issue. Digital citizens are balanced. They make informed decisions about how to prioritize their time and activities online and off. I mean, and now think about again that statistic, 7 hours and 22 minutes a day. That's almost a third of their day is spent online. And that number is only increasing. So we need to provide ways for them to kind of recharge, turn it off, turn the screens off, provide other opportunities for them. A student who is balanced might set limits on their screen time, and they might make sure to get enough exercise and sleep. And again, unfortunately, we can't take the role of parents for every student that we teach as much as we would like to, but we can give them some strategies that they can use to limit their screen time, set alarms, things like that. Make time for play, go outside, take a walk, really just turn that screen off for a little while and have that balance there. And also, digital citizens are alert. They're aware of their online actions, and they know how to be safe and create spaces for others online. And I love this, buddies, not bullies. A student who is alert might be aware of the risk of cyberbullying, and they might know how to report it to a trusted adult. And I think that's where we as educators really need to go in and provide that support for our students. Let them know that we truly do care, and if something happens online, they know that they could come to us and talk about it. I love this infographic, and I thought I would share with you. It's moving from digital citizenship to digital leadership, which is what we need to be doing. Digital citizenship is using the internet and social media in a responsible and ethical way. Digital leadership is using the internet and social media to improve the lives, well-being, and circumstances of others. So I love that that quote from George Couros. I think that is what we are kind of called to do is, number one, we want to create leaders, but we want all around leaders, in the virtual digital world, in our physical world. We want to improve the well-being of our students. I'm a responsible digital citizen, and I used the internet and social media to share appropriate stories, images, videos, and ideas with friends and family. I have the positive digital footprint, which I think students have a real hard time understanding what that digital footprint really means and how once it's there, it's always there. Responsible digital citizens give due credit when they share ideas, images, or videos. As a digital citizen, they treat others the way that they want to be treated. It's that golden rule, just like Kid President said. I also, as a digital citizen, report inappropriate online behavior. Now, as we move from that digital citizen to a digital leader, think about how we use the internet and social media to learn and share learning. Again, look how positive that is, to empower others with no voice. And that's, I feel like that's what we do. We're advocates for our students. And there's no better way of advocating for our students by providing them with ways to advocate for, number one, for themselves, but for others, to address social inequality, to promote important causes, be a more positive influence in the lives of others. And that's our ultimate goal for these kids. Is we want them to be successful. We want them to be a good role model to others. As an elementary school teacher, I would always say, teaching fifth grade, those younger kids always, they look up to you, and when they see you, I want them to see that. I want them to always see the good in you. Don't let them see you um, do something ugly to someone else. So we want to, be positive with them, and we want them to be a good influence on others. So how do we make that transition from a digital citizen to a digital leader? Well, find something you are passionate about and start influencing others to make a positive change. I think, again, this is such a powerful, powerful infographic that I hope that you can use and share with others. So some resources for you that I will provide as links. If you Google DigCit commit, also Wakelet, if you have never used Wakelet, Wakelet is a way to curate resources and to keep them all in a collection. I love Wakelet just for the fact that you can look at other people's collections. We as teachers are great stealers, and why reinvent the wheel when someone has done that? So, and then you can also add to and provide your own resources for other people. Again, ISTE, like I told you, a good way to get to ISTE with a free membership is through NCED Cloud. And then a great online safety course that I have used with students, and it would be good all the way through middle school, I feel like, is Be Internet Awesome. It's called Interland. It's Google's online safety course for kids. So are you committed to digital citizenship? It's much more than just online safety. It's using technology to make our community better. It's using technology to make our voices heard by public leaders and shape public policy. By engaging respectfully online with people who have different beliefs than you, and determining the validity of online sources of information. So here are some references that I have used. And I just want to thank you for listening, and I hope that this will help you as you continue your journey with your students. And just always remember how much that you are valued as part of our students' future. And I just want to personally thank you for that. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.